When we think about civilization, our minds usually jump to the big stuff, right? The pyramids, the Roman Colosseum, all the skyscrapers. But what if it's not some finished thing we can just point to? What if it's a process? That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to break down this epic story, piece by piece, building block by building block. Ready? Let's dive in. So, yeah, let's ask that question straight up. What is a civilization, really? I mean, is it just massive monuments? Is it a set of complex laws? Is it maybe even the phone you're holding right now? Well, the truth is, it's not really any one of those things. It's something bigger. It's more like a series of game-changing shifts, kind of like fundamental upgrades for humanity. You can think of them as these massive revolutions that just rewrote all the rules. Each one laid a new foundation for everything that followed. And today, we're going to zero in on the first two, the big ones that started it all. All right, so here's the game plan. We'll start with what civilization even means. Then we're hitting the two big game changers, the farming revolution and the urban revolution. After that, we'll connect the dots to see how that ancient blueprint is still running our world. And we'll wrap up by asking a pretty big question. What's our revolution? Okay, first up, what is civilization? To really get a grip on these foundations, we've got to understand what the world was like before them. And that means we need to zoom out, way, way out. Just look at this timeline. The scale here is absolutely mind-boggling. For millions, literally millions of years, our ancestors were just small groups of people on the move. Even our own species, Homo sapiens, we were around for something like 300,000 years before farming and cities even became a thing. That's a really long time. So after all that time, what happened? What was the spark? Well, a huge part of it was technology. Sure, stone tools were a big deal, obviously. But the real game changer? Fire. I love this quote. Fire did more than warm skin. It lengthened time. Think about that. It wasn't just about being warm or scaring away predators. Suddenly you had usable time after the sun went down. Time to talk, to teach your kids, to tell stories. Culture itself could now be passed down, right there around the campfire. And that ability to share knowledge, to build on it generation after generation, that's what eventually led us to the first massive building block of civilization, the one that honestly powers everything else. I'm talking about the food engine. Now, this wasn't like one genius somewhere had a light bulb moment. No way. The agricultural revolution was this incredible thing that happened independently all over the globe. The Fertile Crescent, China, Mesoamerica, you name it. It was like humanity everywhere was trying to solve the same problem. How do we stop chasing our dinner and get it to grow right here? But making that shift, man, it was a massive trade-off. When we were foragers, life was mobile, our diets were pretty varied, but we were always just one bad season away from starvation. As farmers, we suddenly had a food surplus. That meant we could support bigger populations, but it also meant we became super dependent on just a handful of crops, like wheat or rice. And here's the kicker. This progress had a really steep price tag. I mean, some scholars call it the single biggest mistake in human history. When we look at the skeletons from that time, early farmers were often shorter, sicker, and had worse teeth than the foragers who came before them. And for the very first time, the idea of owning land and having a surplus of food, well, that created inequality. It was a total double-edged sword. Okay, so we've got the food engine sorted, but guess what? That surplus creates a brand new problem. If not everybody has to be a farmer anymore, what do? You get new jobs, new roles. But how on earth do you organize thousands of people, all living on top of each other in one place? The answer? That's our next building block, the city, the social engine. So what actually makes a city a city? It's not just about having a ton of people. Archaeologists have a kind of checklist. You need full-time specialists, people who are potters or soldiers or priests and nothing else. You need big public buildings like temples. And you absolutely need a way to manage it all, administration. And here's a fun fact. Writing, one of our greatest inventions, wasn't invented for poetry. Nope. It was invented by accountants in Mesopotamia to keep track of who paid their grain taxes. Seriously. And what's so cool is that there wasn't just one way to build a city. People came up with different solutions. Take a look at this. In Mesopotamia, you've got Uruk, where everything revolves around a huge temple that was basically a grain bank. Then you jump over to Egypt, and cities are basically administrative hubs for a god king, with giant pyramids next door to prove his power. But then Then you have Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley. It's perfectly planned, has amazing sanitation, but almost no signs of kings or palaces. It suggests a totally different, maybe more collective way of running things. Just fascinating. So, there you have it, our first two foundations, the food engine from farming and the social engine from the city. And when you put those two together, you get a blueprint that would basically define the next 6,000 years of human history. And the logic is actually pretty straightforward when you lay it out. Step 1, a food surplus from farming lets some people stop farming. Step 2, those people become specialists living together in cities. Step 3, to manage all those people, you have to invent administration, writing, laws, that kind of thing. And step 4, once you have that toolkit for managing people, well, you've got everything you need to build states and eventually empires. And this right here is maybe the most important takeaway. That basic pattern, food surplus supporting a complex society with all these different jobs, all managed by some kind of central government, that is still the fundamental operating system for our world. Sure, we've got computers and globalization now, but the underlying blueprint, it's thousands of years old, and it's still running. Which brings us to today, to right now. We inherited a world built on these ancient foundations. But history isn't over, right? The building process never really stops. We're always laying the groundwork for whatever comes next.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought. Those first huge revolutions were about mastering biology through farming and mastering social organization through cities. So what is our revolution? What's the massive foundational shift that's happening right now? Is it about mastering information with the internet and AI? Is it something else we can't even see clearly yet? Whatever it is, we're the ones building that foundation today. The real question is, what are people 1,000 years from now going to build on top of it?